Hello, this is Alan welcoming you to the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 28th of July 2016. The readers this week are Sonia, Ros, Maureen and myself, with Ian on the controls. The editor and the production and distribution team is Phillip, Jean and Lindsay. The editor this week was Audrey. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prie, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breuer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. The events information has been collated by us from other sources. The local news headlines this week include Struggling CGC Gets Ultimatum, Family-Run Shops Hit by Draconian Rules, In the Market for Some Sunny Weather, and Crowds Flock to Charities Picnic. Before the news, we sometimes have special items, but we don't this week. But I would say that the sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow, 29th of July, are 05:20 and 20:53 respectively. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and any special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She, as you well know by now, is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, Sonia will read the first item of local news,
which is Crowds Flock to Charities Picnic. Picnickers enjoyed the summer sunshine at an outdoor event to celebrate an Enfield-based mental health charity. The picnic in the park, in Pims Park, Edmonton, on Saturday, attracted hundreds of visitors to the community garden and wild space belonging to Mind in Enfield, which was formerly a bowling green. It was the first time the event, which is designed to promote the services the charity provides, has been held. There was a variety of activities, including carnival-style drum-making workshops by arts and educational organisation Taru Arts, and demonstrations, as well as live music and homemade refreshments. The charity runs regular gardening and fruit-growing sessions at the park site, while its premises in 4th Street, Edmonton, offers a host of other activities to promote and improve the mental well-being of the borough's residents, from Tai Chi and yoga to relaxation sessions, art and crafts workshops and counselling, plus walks, trips and bingo. The weather was wonderful, and the Mayor of Enfield, Bernadette Lepage, came along to celebrate, said Martine Drake, coordinator of the charity's Mind, Body and Soul project. Many of those attending were volunteers and users, but large numbers had no connection to the charity and were drawn by the activities and curious to learn what we do. People don't need a referral from a GP or hospital to use our services. They are available to everyone if they think it will be beneficial to them.
Struggling CCG gets ultimatum. NHS England has branded Enfield's health chief's financial performance as inadequate in a stinging report. Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG, has been put in special measures and could be disbanded if its performance does not improve. Enfield North MP Joan Ryan has weighed in, demanding action to fix the crisis at the heart of Enfield's health services. A report by NHS England called Strengthening Financial Performance and Accountability concluded that Enfield's CCG was one of 26 out of 209 to be rated overall as inadequate. Its financial performance is rated inadequate, and management, planning and performance are all rated as requiring improvement. Announcing the special measures, NHS England says Enfield has directed to produce and implement an improvement and financial plan and to develop leadership for the CCG. It could step in 4 areas. 1, by disbanding the CCG and transferring its functions to a neighbouring CCG. 2, by ordering it to share a management team with a high-performing neighbour. 3, by moving responsibility for the cost and quality of care to another care organisation. And 4, by removing bosses. Miss Ryan has written to the Secretary of State for Health, Jeremy Hunt, to voice her concerns about Enfield's healthcare services, referring also to concerns over North Middlesex University Hospital in Edmonton. She said, "We are facing a perfect storm in Enfield at the moment. Government cuts and underinvestment in frontline services have left our NHS on its knees." An Enfield CCG spokesman said, NHS England has published annual ratings which show how much Clinical Commissioning Group has discharged its responsibilities. This is part of an ongoing assurance process to ensure that secure financial and operational delivery in 2016 and 17 goes through. Enfield CCG are already under legal directions due to our challenging financial position, and we will continue to receive support and direction from NHS England. For the financial year 2016-17, Enfield CCG has a planned deficit target of 7.7 million, which includes a savings target of 17.1 million. It says total budget is 359 million. A new interim chief officer was appointed on May the 23rd, when Sarah Thompson took over the role. She last worked in Enfield as Borough Director of Enfield Primary Trust up to 2012.
Make the most of it, folks, because you only have until the weekend, the end of July, to enjoy the Costa del Enfield. Thousands of children and their parents have visited the urban beach to have fun at Palm Tree Central, usually known as Enfield Town Market, since it opened 10 days ago. More than 30 tons of sand were used to recreate the sensation of being at the seaside, with deck chairs, palm trees and tiki huts. Jules Barrett, Enfield Market's marketing officer, said, "It's been amazing. It's fantastic, and we've had a great response. We've been having very positive comments from passers-by, lots of thank yous and well dones. It's all about coming down here and enjoying it. It's a community event." Other attractions have included Zumba and martial art sessions, which here in the article have actually been written as marital art sessions, which would be interesting, buskers and fashion shows. The beach has been created with the support of the market, shops and businesses, and the Old Enfield Charitable Trust, which manages the market. The sand will be packed away on Saturday. Until then, the beach is open every day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Family-run shops hit by draconian rules. 2 long-serving independent shops have fallen foul of unreasonable and draconian council rules, it is claimed. Cockfoster's Delicatessen and Bowes Hardware, who have traded in Cockfoster's Road for 34 years and 80 years respectively, were recently told by Enfield Council to remove their street displays of fruit and do-it-yourself items because they were deemed to be illegal obstacles on the pavement. Both shops were given 7 days to remove the displays, but while Bowes reluctantly accepted the decision, Cockfoster's Deli continued to display goods on the street, saying there is nowhere else to put them. Owners, husband and wife George and Gianna Spyru, say more than 300 people have signed a petition in support. Miss Spyru said, "We do agree you need space for wheelchairs and scooters on the pavement, but a blanket approach does not work. We have not had a single complaint. It will have a huge impact on us. Where does all our stock go? We will have to cut down and lose income. We are already competing against 3 supermarkets on this road. It could be the final nail in our coffin." Mr. Spyru added, "One girl stopped her car in the middle of the road, jumped out and ran in, demanding to sign the petition. That is how strongly people feel. We understand where the council is coming from. There has to be some restrictions, but case-by-case monitoring would be so much better. We feel let down." Barbara Newport, who has owned Bose Hardware with her husband David for 33 years, said she was confused as to why cafes and restaurants on the road were allowed tables and chairs outside while their displays were not permitted. She said, "It's ridiculous. People come in and ask where our stuff is and can't believe it when we tell them. It seems to be one rule for one shop but different for another. There must be a middle ground." The stores have won support from Cockfoster's ward councillor Jason Sharalambus. He told the Enfield Independent, "This is utterly unreasonable and draconian and came completely out of the blue for both of these shops, having, as far as I know, never been contacted by the council about this before. The council is acting disgracefully in bullying some of our most valued and well-established family-run shops for no good reason, using a one-size-fits-all policy that it has suddenly decided to enforce, and where clearly some common-sense discretion should be applied." Enfield Council spokesperson Suzanne Lindsay said the Cabinet Member for Environment, Daniel Anderson, had recently agreed for the policy to be reviewed. She said, "It is against the law to display goods for sale on the highway. We are treating all businesses in Enfield consistently and fairly in accordance with the existing long-standing policy, and they are being asked to remove their goods from the pavement, followed up with enforcement action if required, regardless of the length of time the goods have been displayed."
Patients have made it clear they are concerned about the future of North Middlesex University Hospital's crisis hit A&E unit. About 60 people turned out for a meeting hosted by Edmonton MP Kate Osamore and her Hornsey and Wood Green counterpart, Catherine West, to get an update on the urgent improvements after health watchdog the Care Quality Commission ranked the casualty department at the hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, as inadequate. It followed an unannounced visit by inspectors. A report by the watchdog detailed a catalogue of failings, including one patient left lying unattended for 4.5 hours before staff realised he had died. Inspectors found insufficient senior doctors available to supervise their more junior colleagues. North Middlesex has come up with an action plan, and consultants have been loaned from other hospitals as a short-term measure to try and alleviate the recruitment crisis. Ms. Osamore said, "People were concerned at what happened. There is no other place to go. It can't close." The newly appointed clinical director of the casualty department, Dr. Turan Hussein, gave an update to the meeting at the Green Towers Community Centre on Monday as staff prepare for another CQC inspection in September. Dr. Hussein has been joined by 5 senior emergency doctors who are on short-term loan to help deal with staff shortages as North Middlesex tackles the recruitment problem. He outlined plans to open a GP centre in A&E to triage cases and reduce the pressure on casualty. Edmonton Green Ward Councillor Abdul Abdullahi, who chairs Enfield Council's Health Scrutiny Panel, said he was disappointed with how the situation had deteriorated this year before the CQC's inspection. He said, "People are saying how they value the hospital and the service and how they are concerned." An interim chief executive has been appointed, and the Royal Free London NHS Foundation Trust Chief Executive David Sloman is acting as North Middlesex's accountable officer. Mr. Abdullahi said Mr. Sloman had been invited to a meeting of his panel in October to find out the nature of the relationship between the Royal Free and North Middlesex hospitals. The Royal Free took over Chase Farm Hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, in 2014, following the closure of the A&E and maternity departments. It also took over the running of Barnet Hospital, which does have an A&E unit. The CQC is due to begin an inspection of North Middlesex on September the 20th. It wants to hear from patients to find out about their experiences and can be contacted on 03000 616161.
Teaching unions have expressed serious concerns about a new academy group involving 3 Enfield schools. Governors at Hazelbury Primary School and the Bowes Learning Alliance, which runs Bowes and Chesterfield primary schools, want to form a new trust by September, with the schools being run by one body. However, Enfield NUT says this is a huge change from the original plans to include 5 schools, after Lavender and Brimsdown primaries pulled out in recent weeks. The union is now calling on the schools to rethink their plans, which they say are undemocratic and flawed. Stuart McNamara, Secretary of Enfield NUT, said, "Now that 2 of the 5 schools have pulled out, the plan seems to literally change week by week. None of these further developments were consulted upon, so stakeholders have had no chance to comment on what is essentially a totally different plan to the one consulted upon just 2 months ago." The union also claims the views of parents and of staff have been misrepresented, and in a survey of 55 members of staff, 51 of them were not in favour of the schools becoming a multi-academy trust. John West, Vice Chairman of the Bowes Learning Alliance, said, "We have looked very carefully at our future budgets and at the difficulties that Enfield and other local authorities are facing in relation to financial cutbacks and reductions in services. The 2 governing bodies have come to the unanimous conclusion that the best future for all our schools is within a multi-academy trust. This is not a decision we have taken lightly, and governors at the Bowes Learning Alliance and Hazelbury Primary Schools have carried out thorough consultations with parents and staff. The proposal is intended to provide the best possible education for pupils and a stable, secure future for staff and local families. We intend to continue to work closely with Enfield Local Authority where possible to provide for children in the borough, including some of the most vulnerable. Parents and staff at our schools can be confident that we will continue with the inclusive ethos and innovative curriculum that we have become well known for." Paul Bishop, Secretary of Enfield Unison, said, "The most important thing is that Enfield learning for pupils in Enfield. This dash for academisation puts their learning at risk." That's even academisation, puts their learning at risk. "At this time of financial uncertainty, it must be sensible to put the brakes on for a while."
Music-loving Mayor Bernadette Lepage was instrumental in encouraging shoppers to take part in a recycling project. She put up a stall next to Marks and Spencer in Enfield Town last Saturday, asking for unwanted musical instruments to be donated. It coincided with World Busking Day. A variety of buskers played along, and she says her charity, Enfield Sounds Great, got a huge boost from the effort. Miss Lepage, who plays the guitar, said, "Music is magical and inspirational, and we have so many great musicians in Enfield, from the orchestras here to people in blues bands." We had a wonderful response. We had about 15 or 16 instruments handed to us, mainly guitars and keyboards, but also a ukulele and a clarinet. They will be refurbished and given to people who will get the chance to use them. The Mayor added that £300 had been donated to her charity and thanked everyone who contributed.
This is a letter to the Independent from Chris Bond, Labour Councillor, Southbury Ward. No let up in attacks on those in need. You would think that what with a new Prime Minister and Chancellor of the Exchequer, it gives the government a chance to change tack on the economy, especially as the present plan is not working. Deficit is bigger than predicted and borrowing is up. But no, we appear to see no change on the relentless attack on local authorities and those in need. A debate on July 20th on housing benefit reflects this. In this debate, the government refused to change its view that cuts in this sector should go ahead despite expert advice to the contrary. In Enfield, we have 1,545 residents who live in supported housing and 652 who are elderly, according to government statistics. These may have mental illness problems and may be ex-service personnel, vulnerable adults or elderly residents. Now some of these homes may close. Certainly new schemes will not be built. Residents should know and they should check if they, family or friends are in their support schemes. From April 2017, all new residents joining these schemes will see their benefits cut, and if they are in schemes now, those cuts will come into being in April 2018. Supported housing schemes saved the government about £640 million a year. This is achieved by reducing pressure on other services such as National Health Service and social care. I hope the government rethinks this idea sooner rather than later.
Heartbreak Productions is presenting The Tempest at 40 Hall Estate, 40 Hill, Enfield. This takes place on Wednesday, the 24th of August at 7 in the evening. Gather round Heartbreak Productions' stone circle to meet druids, bards and revellers who will perform a mystical rendition of Shakespeare's final play, The Tempest. Using masks, dance and song, this merry band of performing pagans will transport you to Prospero's magical isle, upon which he crafts a vengeful attack on his usurping kinsman. All alone, save for his daughter Miranda and 2 enslaved island inhabitants, Ariel, a powerful spirit, and the monstrous Caliban, Prospero commands a storm to sweep his brother onto the island. Battling against Caliban's treachery, Ariel attempts to bring off Prospero's master plan for vengeance in return for her freedom, and Miranda sees a proper man for the first time. More than a love story, this outdoor production of The Tempest explores man's conflict with nature, freedom and power, betrayal and forgiveness. So get involved in the storytelling circle and witness our druids enact Shakespeare's most memorable adventure. Call 020 8363 8196 for details how to book tickets, which are priced as follows: £12 for adults, £10 concessions, £8 for children and young people. A family ticket for 2 adults and 2 young people is £32.
A group of budding entrepreneurs have graduated from an intensive 6-month course. Enterprise Enfield's Inspiring Women's course ended with the graduation on July the 19th at West Lodge Park Hotel. The RSA Trust programme, now in its 9th year, aims to help women develop knowledge, skills and business acumen to start up and run their own businesses successfully. Sue Zaidman opened her dream coffee shop, Louie's Coffee Stop, in Bush Hill Park in June, and she said, "The course has been outstanding. I would definitely recommend anyone who is thinking of doing it to go ahead. It's covered marketing, social media, financial forecasting, core values and many other useful tools. I even managed to make it through the basic bookkeeping course, something I was absolutely dreading."
Livestock Festival is back at 40 Hall Farm for its 5th year, as we've heard, and a total of 20 bands encompassing genres such as rock, folk, reggae and swing will be performing during the day-long event. Promising newcomers Our Voices Choir, based in Winchmore Hill, will be singing a range of pop classics at the festival, including tunes from Adele, Oasis, Clean Bandit and a bit of Motown thrown in. The chorus was set up by singer and songwriter Richard Forbes with the aim of bringing a new sound to Enfield and providing a creative outlet for people who usually only sing in the shower. The 38-year-old has been in the music business for almost 20 years and has worked with pop stars Sam Smith and Paloma Faith, as well as writing the scores for a BAFTA-nominated comedy called Convenience and a short film called Life Sentence. He explained why he wanted to get people in the community singing together. Richard says, "It's all kicking off for us at the moment. We'll be on stage at 12:30 this Saturday, and there will be around 30 singers of all age ranges performing. The youngest person is 18, and the oldest is 71. It's a mixed group of people, and everyone has been working hard and attending extra rehearsals." He has seen the choir grow in strength since he founded it in February this year. The group already cuts its teeth at the Furze Farm Wetlands Festival 2 weeks ago and has been asked to take part in Mayor of Enfield Bernadette Lepage's charity Enfield Sounds Great. Due to ever-growing demand and wanting to fit around people's busy schedules, Richard holds 2 sets of rehearsals each week, on Tuesdays at the Winchmore Pub on Winchmore Hill Road at 8:30, and Thursday evenings at 7:30 above the King's Head at the corner of Church Hill and Wades Hill. The musician, who grew up in Southgate but now lives near Enfield Town, wanted to set up a singing group as he felt there was a need in the area. He explains, "I set up the choir because I wanted to do something creative as a musician and also wanted to involve the community. Nobody really knows about this sort of thing unless they really search it out. If people are into amateur dramatics, they can easily join a theatre group, but if they enjoy singing, they will more likely sing in their car or in their home instead of in a choir. People don't realise that singing in harmony with others gives you a great feeling, is good for your soul, and it doesn't take up too much of your week either. I think choirs have often got an old-fashioned stigma attached to them and are associated with being in church halls with churchgoers and schools. However, this group is just everyday people who come along and enjoy singing together. Some are quite sheepish when they first attend, but after a session they are normally hooked because no one isolates you or laughs at you. You won't feel alone as everyone sings together, and it is above a pub, so a glass of wine and beer often helps people to relax. Richard is proud of how quickly the choir has spread around his hometown after deciding to pursue the project in order to be closer to his family, and feels it will keep on growing after the Livestock Festival. He says, "I definitely think it is beneficial for the area. I was born and bred in Enfield, but have also travelled the world as a performer and studied music at the Musicians Institute in Los Angeles, California. I have written songs with Sam Smith and other artists that have been part of Britain's Got Talent and X Factor, as well as working with Paloma Faith on stage. I play the piano, guitar and the drums, although I just play the piano when I'm rehearsing with the choir. I've been in the music industry since I was 19 years old and have done a lot of varied things in my career. But now I have one child and another on the way. I just wanted to do something that closer to home that involved less travel, so it has worked out well. Now I'll be looking at how the choir can expand and will embrace all the opportunities that will be available for us in the future."
Tributes after death of popular musician. A widow has paid tribute to a drummer and photographer who fought serious illness to pursue his dreams. Simon and Claire Cooper were married on June the 21st at North London Hospice, where Simon was living with incurable lung cancer, in a ceremony organised with the help of friends, family and the hospice in less than 24 hours. Claire said Simon, who died on July the 10th, aged 33, had lived up to her first impressions of him as lovely, sweet and a gentleman on their first date in July 2013. She said, "When we first met, we clicked. It was like we knew each other for ages. He told me about his life story and I was inspired." Born with a blocked bowel and diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at birth, Simon overcame all obstacles to work as a photographer for Status Quo and a drummer with Chaz and Dave. Claire said, "When he was diagnosed with cancer and on chemo, it didn't stop him. He came up with another project, making merchandise like T-shirts, with all proceeds going to charities. He fought all his life until the very end." His funeral took place last week, which Claire said was a celebration of his incredible life. She said people will remember Simon as a big inspiration, a true fighter, stubborn, the list goes on. He touched so many people.
There are 2 letters about the library service in Enfield. The first is from Michael Hardiman of Landseer Road, Bush Hill Park. He writes, "Michael Clary, will libraries move lead to permanent closure? Opinion, July the 13th. Is right to be concerned about what the future holds for library provision in Southgate, if our local library in Main Avenue is anything to go by. Without any prior notice to users, it was handed over to Eldon School in December 2015 and then lost its salaried staff from April this year. We now have access to less than half of a building that was reopened and renamed the John Jackson Library in 2010 after a refurbishment and expansion using money from the Big Lottery Fund. Since the opening hours have been altered to suit the school, it is practically impossible for anyone in full-time employment or for school-aged children to use the John Jackson except on Saturday mornings. For 3 days in a row, presumably the beginning of the summer holidays, it failed to open at all at the advertised time. It seems to me that Councillor Aoife Orhan, we've been up front about libraries' future, opinion, July the 20th, defends the actions of her administration a little too vigorously. The large number of books that were removed from John Jackson in February and sold were taken away because there wasn't room for them. It had nothing to do with normal turnover or stock management. The second letter is from Michael Clary, who lives in Queen Elizabeth's Drive, Southgate. He writes, Councillor Orhan is no doubt correct that the decision to relocate Southgate Library is recorded somewhere in the Cabinet Papers, but funnily enough, most people do not read them, and I do not recall this specific decision being reported in the local press. No attempt whatsoever seems to have been made to communicate this to users until 3 weeks before closure. In my book, that is being opaque. She does not deny that a membership card will be needed just to get into the replacement facility, something I have never heard of for a truly public library. She also states that the same range of books will be available, with in excess of 6,000 items. She is careful not to state how many items there were before the closure, let alone how many were there before the first weeding out exercise several months ago that left a large number of racks empty. If weeding out in libraries is to reduce the overall stock rather than make space for newer stock, that should also be made clear up front. Compared with a year ago, will 6,000 items be a reduction from 10,000? 20,000?
A report has criticised Haringey Council, the police and extradition services following the murder of a 6-month-old baby by his father. The baby, called Child R in the local Safeguarding Child Board (LSCB) report, died in January 2015 due to head injuries and was also seen to have signs of previous fractures to his left arm. His father was convicted of murder in December and is serving a life sentence, but it has been revealed that his mother, who used to be a nanny in Enfield, served 9 years in prison for murder when aged 17 and had fled illegally to the UK while on parole and pregnant with her first child. An independent review criticised Haringey's social workers for failing to record vital details about the mother's arrest and for not calling the police and NHS together for a case review. It also criticised the 101 service for not taking the case seriously enough when contacted by concerned midwives after child R was born. The mother was cleared during the father's trial of any wrongdoing. You can read more about this story in full online at www.enfieldindependent.co.uk.
2 NFL stars brought their version of American football to North London last week. Chris Baker and D'Angelo Hall from the Washington Redskins put students from Northumberland Park School through their paces in the shadow of Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium, which will host a minimum of 2 regular season NFL matches per season over 10 years when it is completed in 2018. The rebuilt White Hart Lane will feature a retractable grass field with an artificial surface underneath that will be used for NFL games. Club ambassador Ledley King also got involved in the session, testing the Redskin players' skills in the English version of football. Former Spurs captain King said bringing NFL to Tottenham once the new stadium is built will be great for the area, especially for young people if today is anything to go by. Kids love trying new sports, and having the Redskins at their school captured the imagination of the Northumberland Park students.
Bird watchers in a flap over housing estate development. Twitchers are urging developers to ensure a rare colony of birds is not wiped out by a new housing estate. The bird watchers fear that the fate of up to 30 swifts could be ignored if plans to build more than 400 homes are given the go-ahead. Countryside Properties has applied to Enfield Council for permission for the development at Shepcott House in Cowper Gardens, Southgate. Among the 240 supporting documents is an ecological statement which has raised concerns of bird lovers. Southgate resident Andy Potter, 49, of Addison Avenue said, "We are not against the development at all, but we are worried about the fate of the swifts. I've spoken to someone who says the swifts have been coming to this site for nearly 50 years. Catherine Day, a volunteer with the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, said, "It's no good just putting up nest boxes and hoping. Swifts are very particular and will return to precisely the same spot to nest. So what is required is for any new development to use swift bricks in their buildings or to leave gaps behind the eaves in some spots. Then they stand the chance of the birds coming back. Accommodation needs to be provided as near as possible to their nesting site." Countryside Properties said, "Ecology and sustainability are very important to us, and we are seeking, wherever possible, to use our developments to positively enhance the natural habitat. As part of our planning application, we submitted a preliminary ecological statement which recommended, among other things, that the new development provides a nesting habitat, specifically the installation of nest boxes for species such as the swift."
The Chicken Shed Theatre gives China youngsters a helping hand. Young actors from China joined forces with children at Chicken Shed Theatre to create a story about the environment to perform to audiences when they return home. The group of 13 children from Xiamen on the east coast of China spent a week with youngsters from the Inclusive Theatre Company based in Chaseside, Southgate. The 9 to 12-year-olds were also taken on a tour of the Palace of Westminster by Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows, and followed through their green theme with a trip to the London Wetland Centre in southwest London. The trip was organised with the Grand Minnan Theatre in Xiamen and the Beijing-based China Performing Arts Agency. It came about after a chance meeting at a conference, and Chicken Shed is hoping to increase its international links. The children were also kept busy devising and rehearsing their show, which they performed to parents and friends on Friday. David Carey, Chicken Shed's creative development director, said, "They are interested in looking after their own environment, not littering, recycling waste, not wasting food." He wrote an adventure story for the children, which was translated into Chinese. However, they opted to perform it in English. Mr. Carey added, "It's an adventure story about children looking for a mythical clean field and a king who loves rubbish. They met up with a character called Hui Xiaoren, who is made from recycled products. They had to cross a river to find the clean field and were picking up litter all the way until they found they were in a clean field. Perhaps they were in the clean field all along." As well as telling a story with the environmental theme, the children kept the green theme for their costumes. They made their stage outfits from old newspapers and cardboard.
Thousands of people have signed a petition calling for a community advice service to stay open. The Federation of Enfield Community Associations, that's FECA, which has operated from Mottingham Road in Edmonton since 1972, is currently in a court battle with Enfield Council over its future. The group's tenancy ended in April 2015, and despite months of negotiations, the council said it intended to take back the site. More than 4,000 people have now signed the petitions calling for the group, which offers advice on anything from debt and housing to paying taxes and claiming benefits to keep running in the borough. Chairman Vicky Dungate insists FECA is the only organisation to offer face-to-face advice rather than over the phone or online, and there will be nowhere else for people to go if they disappear. She said, "If the council want to close us down, they have to replace us, otherwise the service will be completely impersonal. To have so many people signing their support is comforting, and we have had backing from councillors and people have never even used us." Enfield Council spokesman Susan Lindsay said, "There are 2 active live court cases involving FECA currently before the courts and under judicial consideration, so as such, the council at the time is unable to comment."
And now what you've all been waiting for, the local cricket news. Southgate climbed to within 3 points of the top of the Premier Division of the Middlesex County Cricket League, after securing a 17-run win at home to Twickenham on Saturday. Informed Southgate had their bowlers to thank for this latest triumph, as they did a fantastic job of defending a modest-looking total of 182, eventually dismissing their visitors for 165 to seal a 4th straight league victory. The hosts lost both openers cheaply after electing to bat, but Michael Stevens, who got 65, and Ayash Sahota, who got 48, got them back on track with a terrific stand of 97 for the 3rd wicket. However, the duo fell in relatively quick succession, and no one else was able to make a significant contribution as wickets tumbled at regular intervals during the remainder of their innings. Parminder Singh, who took 5 wickets for 64 runs, and Mark Lazar, who took 4 for 38, did most of the damage with the ball. Twickenham, in need of points to boost their hopes of avoiding the drop, made a fine start to their reply, as Darshan Chauhan got 39 and Daniel Lazar got 24, sharing an opening partnership of 60. But the hosts refused to panic, and their bowlers gradually regained the upper hand as they began to work their way through the batting. Ashley Sivaraja, who took 4 wickets for 38 runs, proved to be the pivotal figure in their triumph, receiving excellent support from Hayden Morton, 2 for 19, and Mukesh Bhatt, 2 for 41, as Twickenham fell short of their target. Meanwhile, Enfield lost ground in the race for promotion from Division 2, as they were beaten by 70 runs at home by second-placed Barnes. An outstanding innings of 123 from Dean Bedson enabled Barnes to reach a total of 255 for 7, batting first. Jack Plum made 54 for Enfield in reply, but he received little support, and some fine bowling from Dean Riches, who took 6 wickets for 47 runs, ultimately proved decisive, as the hosts were dismissed for 185. Enfield bounced back well from this setback, though, as they claimed an impressive 4-wicket win at Hampstead in the quarter-finals of the Middlesex Cup on Sunday. Ryan Cunningham, who took 3 for 51, was the most successful bowler, as Hampstead were restricted to 221 for 9 from their 45 overs. Max Houlihan then played the decisive innings for the visitors, as he smashed a quick-fire 92 to help them reach 223 for 6, with more than 5 overs to spare. Plum chipped in with 51. And finally, elsewhere, Winchmore Hill remained top of Division 3, despite slumping to a surprise 6-wicket defeat at Harrow Town. Kamlesh Desai took 5 for 51, as Hill could only make 184 batting first, and Mohammed Arshad's unbeaten 78 enabled the hosts to race to 185 for 4 in reply. Southgate go to Ealing on Saturday, while Enfield visit Indian Gymkhana and Winchmore Hill entertain North London.
More sport, this time football. Quinton sees encouraging signs in Town's performances. Manager Bradley Quinton was pleased with what he saw from his Enfield Town players during a hectic week of pre-season action. Town faced a gruelling schedule of 4 home matches in the space of 8 days, all against representative sides from professional clubs, which had started with a 2-1 victory over Barnet 11 on July the 16th. This was followed by a 4-0 defeat against Reading under-21s on Tuesday last week, before 2 matches in as many days saw Town lose 3-2 to Brighton and Hove Albion under-21s on Friday night and secure a fine 2-0 win against a Queen's Park Rangers 11 on Saturday. And Quinton believes that he saw plenty of positive signs from the matches as he looks to get his side prepared for the start of the Ryman Premier Division season on August 13th. It was great for us to have 4 fixtures like that in a week against such strong opposition, he said. I thought that we were superb in the first 45 minutes of every match, but in some of the games we weren't as good as in the second half after making a lot of changes. However, on Saturday we were excellent for the whole 90 minutes, and I thought that the lads were fantastic. Over the next few days we will be whittling down the squad to make sure we get it right for the start of the season. Town had the better of the first half against Brighton and took an early lead through a trial list before Nathan Livings doubled their advantage on 27 minutes. The visitors hit back strongly though, and Archie Davis reduced their deficit before the interval, and second half goals from Rhys Meekums and Thomas Byrne gave them the win. But Quinton's men were in fine form from start to finish in their match against a strong QPR side, which included former Tottenham Hotspur star Sandro, a Brazilian international, and Hungarian international Daniel Tozer. The hosts took the lead on 16 minutes when Corey Whiteley cut in from the right and drilled a shot beyond keeper Joe Lumley, and Livings added a second from the spot 4 minutes later after he had been fouled by Chris Paul. Whiteley twice went close to further extending the lead in the second half, but Town also needed keeper Nathan MacDonald to make several fine saves to ensure that they secured the victory. Enfield Town continue their pre-season programme at Ware tomorrow at 7:45pm, before they make the trip to Skelmersdale United on Saturday 3pm. Saturday's clash is being held to commemorate the 1967 FA Amateur Cup final, which saw the now defunct Enfield FC beat Skelmersdale in a replay, with more than 130,000 people watching the 2 matches between the sides at Wembley Stadium and Main Road, Manchester.
A donation from Bakers offers a boost to Enfield CAB. Bakers have come up with some dough to fight chronic housing problems. Warburton's is giving Enfield Citizens Advice Bureau, CAB, £10,000 to fund a housing advisor to help tackle issues including illegal evictions, home disrepair and homelessness. While an average CAB sees about 8% of its clients with housing problems, the number in Enfield is double that, at 16%. A report by charity Shelter found that renters in Enfield are at the highest risk of losing their homes in England, with 1 in every 23 rented homes in the area receiving a landlord possession claim last year. Jill Harrison, Enfield CAB's chief executive, said, Enfield has a far greater housing crisis than many inner city areas. In the last year alone, over 2,000 households in Enfield were under threat of eviction. We are so grateful to Warburtons for their generous donation, which will make an enormous difference to the service we were able to provide. The specialist advisor helps at least 160 tenants over the course of a year, dealing with complex housing queries. The donation from Warburtons will also fund a specialist course for advisors run by Shelter, providing expert training on areas of housing. Brett Warburton, Executive Director at Warburtons, said, "We know that nothing is more important to families than a safe and secure home, so we are so pleased to be able to fund this essential work and to carry on our existing partnership with the Bureau." Warburtons has been backing Enfield CAB for 2 years, helping redecorate its waiting room, donating products for events, and offering bakery tours for its volunteer recruitment days.
Cricket stars Sir Ian Botham and Shane Warne popped in for a one-hole showdown at Enfield Golf Club. As part of a charity effort, they played the 18th hole on a flying visit to the club in Old Park Road, Southgate, swooping in via helicopter on Thursday and then swiftly moving on. They had set themselves the task of playing 18 holes on 18 courses, each in one of the first-class cricket counties. Enfield represented Middlesex and was the 7th course to be visited as the duo got going at the crack of dawn. Former England all-rounder Sir Ian edged the honours with par 4 as Australian spin king Warne carded a 5. The two took part in the challenge as a fundraiser for Sir Ian's charity foundation for children with chronic illnesses. He has raised millions of pounds in the last 30 years. Golf Club General Manager Paul Beresford Green said, "It went very well. We had about 120 people along, a lot of players, former captains and some children off school. It was a really good effort considering it was short and sweet an occasion as they had to go off to play elsewhere. We were 7th on the list and they were a bit late arriving. Perhaps they chose us to play as we were one of the oldest clubs in the country. And we have invited them back if and when the diaries allow, and they expressed an interest in playing the other 17 holes."
Crazy Capers raised thousands of pounds for charity at an It's a Knockout style tournament. 8 teams competed in a string of balmy battles, entertaining 3,000 people in Enfield Town Park on Sunday. Their mighty efforts raised more than £8,000 for the Nightingale Cancer Support Centre in Lancaster Road, Enfield. The charity's fundraising manager, Lisa Barker, said, "It was a fantastic day out. We had a lot of support from the local community and we received a lot of sponsorship. The games were brilliant. It was very creative. Our volunteers created and made the games. They spent months making things like cardboard tunnels. We had people running through pools of water, juggling balls, being covered in slime and negotiating inflatables. Enfield Business Support Network, BNI Vision, were crowned champions after all the silliness subsided. In addition to the madcap mayhem, there were stalls and activities, including go-karting and aquazorbing, whatever that is."
This is a letter from Air Marshal Chris Nichols, RAF Benevolent Fund Controller. The guinea pigs at 75. 75 years ago this month, a handful of airmen, mostly Battle of Britain pilots with severe burns, bonded together to form the Guinea Pig Club. This club of young men, the surgical guinea pigs of pioneering plastic surgeon Sir Archibald Mackindo, changed the public perception of injured and disfigured servicemen in the post-war years and later served as mentors and examples to new generations of burned service personnel. The club continues to the present day to provide the guinea pigs with camaraderie, encouragement and assistance in times of need. Now the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund is encouraging the public to join in the celebration of the club's 75th anniversary by leaving messages of thanks and appreciation. The messages will be collected in a book of gratitude and presented to the Guinea Pig Club later this year. We rely on your support to make a difference to RAF personnel past and present and their families. Please go to www.rafbf.org/donate.
A £16,000 grant has been given to boost the heating in a sports club. Things are warming up at a sports club in Edmonton, thanks to a cash boost which is set to transform their ageing heating system. Opened in the 1920s, the clubhouse at Edmonton Sports and Social Club in Church Street is central to the club's many activities. It includes a hall, kitchen, toilets, bars and changing rooms. The club, which provides playing facilities for cricket, football, bowls, squash and darts, has been given a grant of £16,450 from the Veolia Environmental Trust to install a new energy-efficient heating system. The grant is one of 43 awarded by the French company to community and environmental projects in England. Club committee member Susan O'Brien said, "This grant is fantastic news for the club. The clubhouse is a focus for many activities, and these improvements to the heating system will mean it will be a warm, comfortable space for those taking part in them. Thermal insulated roller blinds and curtains will also be installed in the bar, hall and kitchen in order to conserve heat in the winter and reflect sun in the summer." Paul Taylor, the Executive Director of the Veolia Environmental Trust, said, "This project will transform the clubhouse, benefiting members and the wider community. We are seeing an ongoing reduction in the amount of funds that we can award, so the club needs to be congratulated on securing this grant in an extremely competitive environment. Work will begin as soon as possible."
Saturday will mark 50 years since the 1966 World Cup final, and people who were there have shared their experiences in a new book. 66 on 66 Memories from English Football's Greatest Day by author Matthew Eastley features football fans who witnessed England's 4-2 victory over West Germany firsthand, talking about their memories of the day, and this includes two people from Enfield. Adir Ganguly from Edmonton, a former chemistry teacher at Southgate School, said he used to use his presence at the match as a weapon to get the attentions of his pupils. On July the 30th, 1966, Adir was 29, but even today, at the age of 78, he remembers the game from his position behind the goal at the scoreboard end. He said, "All I can say is it was an absolutely terrific experience. The crowd was incredible, and I was cheering hard for England. And the player I really admired," he said, "was Bobby Charlton. I thought he was a tremendous player." What has stayed with me after all this time is the electric atmosphere. I've never known anything like it. Daphne Edwards, 78 from Hornsey, went to see the final in a brief break from her truest love, Tottenham Hotspur. She said, "I went to the final on my own and wore a headscarf. It was more of a head England scarf, really, which had the World Cup willy on it, and I still have it. It was a little square scarf with all the flags of the participating countries. I had a woolly scarf too, though, but I was the one of the upper bays behind the goal and the opposite end to the tunnel where Geoff Hurst got the last goal. I got as near to the front of the upper bay as I could, and after the game, I remember everybody celebrating on the way back to Wembley Park Tube, but I went home and didn't do anything special. It certainly took some time to sink in that we were actually world champions.
A man who was part of a gang that barricaded a train station to try and steal a cash point has been jailed. Joshua Scott, aged 30, of Sawyer Close, Edmonton, was sentenced to 19 months for his part in the burglary. Between May and November last year, the gang targeted ATMs at businesses as well as homes where they thought there might be valuables. One significant failed burglary was when the gang tried to break into the ATM at Enfield Chase Station, indirectly causing huge inconvenience for commuters. The group arrived at the station at around 2:15 a.m. on June the 14th last year in a white Ford Transit van. They dressed as railway workers in high-visibility clothing, hard hats and face masks. They left empty-handed, but returned the next evening with cutting equipment and boarded up the station entrance with wooden panels. But when two members of the gang were stopped by police, they tipped off their friends and all fled the scene. The gang also targeted businesses which had cash machines, causing damage to the buildings. They meticulously removed CCTV from inside every one of the venues they burgled, leaving no interior footage of the crimes. But on November 11th, officers arrested 4 gang members after they were seen driving around looking for homes to target in Hertfordshire. The 2 others were arrested in December and January. Following the arrests, officers found a storage unit controlled by the group containing approximately £11,000 in cash. Detective Sergeant Peter MacDonald said, "The public venues they targeted caused inconvenience to the community."
Hair today, gone tomorrow. A schoolgirl has had her lovely long locks snipped for charity. Emily Hill's hair was shorn on Saturday and will be sent off to charity to help sick children. Emily, 15, a pupil at Enfield Chase Community School in Churchbury Lane, said, "I heard about what could be done and I thought it could be a nice idea, and with summer coming up it would be nice to have shorter hair. I wanted to help children who lose their hair because of chemotherapy. It will be made into wigs for them. I also raised £405 for the charity by getting sponsors from all my family and friends. Emily will now send the hair, which was cut at Abbey's Hair in Chaseside, Enfield, to the Little Princess Trust, which will make it into a wig."
Activities for children during the summer holidays. Firstly, for ages 6 to 12, the Butterflies Holiday Fun Club is open throughout the school holidays, 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 on Mondays to Fridays at the Barras Stadium, Hounsfield Road. There's a bouncy castle, a football camp available from 9 a.m. to 3, FA qualified coaches, and Wii, PlayStations, Xboxes, and more. There's a limited availability, so you should register. The phone number is 07851 643 564, or the email is butterfliesfunclub@yahoo.com. And for younger children, 0 to 6 years, the Chicken Shed Theatre has an amazing summer show called Brer Rabbit's Track and Field. This takes place from the 27th of August until the 5th, from the 27th of July until the 5th of August. Join Naughty Brer Rabbit as he races to Rio and get ready for 24-carat fun. The box office number is 020 8292 9222. The website is www.chickenshed.org.uk.
And here's news of an event of the creative kind. National Stitch Day will be celebrated at 40 Hall on Saturday the 6th of August from 12:30 to 4:30. Join the Enfield and District branch of the Embroiderers Guild on National Stitch Day as part of an initiative to celebrate, promote and encourage the art of embroidery and related crafts. Learn about traditional handmade buttons and join in the fun yourself. Make and decorate 3 types of buttons based on traditional button making. Materials are all provided, and to reserve a place, that's a free place, you can call 0208 363 8196.
Well, we've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Sonia, Maureen, Roz and myself, and Ian on the controls, it's goodbye.
Goodbye.